Good morning, friends. I want to talk to you about something that quietly rules every life, every day, every decision you make: habits. You see, habits are like seeds. Plant them with care, water them with consistency, and in time, they grow into towering oaks of achievement. Neglect them or let them run wild, and you'll find your life shaped by forces you didn't even choose. Great leaders, those who inspire, those who leave a mark on the world, didn't reach the heights by luck or by chance. They reached the heights because they learned to master themselves first. They learned to control their habits before their habits controlled them. And here's the beautiful thing: it's available to you too. Every choice you make today, every small act of discipline, is a vote for the life you wish to live tomorrow. I want you to take a moment and think about your life. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year, but this very moment. Every single thing you see around you, every success, every challenge, every relationship, and every habit started as a single simple action. One small choice, repeated day after day, is what builds the life you live. And yet so often we overlook the power of these tiny decisions. We underestimate them. We shrug them off and we think it's just a little thing, it won't matter. But here's the truth: it matters more than you realize. It matters more than all the grand gestures, more than luck, more than waiting for the perfect opportunity. Your life is the sum of your daily actions. Nothing more, nothing less. Look at the people we call great leaders, the ones whose names echo through history. I'm not talking about people who stumbled into fortune or were carried by chance. I'm talking about those who deliberately built their days around habits that strengthened their minds, their bodies, and their spirits. They didn't wake up one morning with a massive success already waiting for them. They woke up with small, disciplined actions: reading a page, making a call, taking a walk, reflecting on a decision. And over time, those actions compounded into something extraordinary. It's like throwing a tiny pebble into a pond. At first it makes a ripple so small you almost don't notice it. If you keep throwing the pebbles day after day, season after season, eventually the ripples cross the entire pond, changing everything in their path. And the beauty of small actions is that they don't require perfection. They only require consistency. You don't have to do everything at once. You don't have to solve every problem immediately. You only need to do something, a little something, every single day that moves you in the direction of your goals. Maybe it's waking up 10 minutes earlier to plan your day. Maybe it's writing down one idea before you go to bed. Maybe it's choosing to speak kindly, even when frustration rises. These small actions, repeated with intention, become habits. And habits, my friends, are the building blocks of character, the architecture of achievement. Too often, people chase big results without considering the small actions that lead to them. They want the promotion, the recognition, the wealth, the transformation, but they're not willing to invest in the small disciplines required. They overlook the emails they didn't send, the pages they didn't read, the moments of patience they didn't practice, and when the results don't appear overnight, they feel discouraged. But let me tell you something. Those who succeed understand that overnight success is a myth. What looks like instant achievement is usually the result of years of tiny, consistent actions that no one saw. Success is never sudden. It is slow, deliberate, and earned through the invisible work of habit. Consider the power of one habit done consistently. Reading just 10 pages a day may seem insignificant. 10 pages are nothing, right? But over a year, that is 3,650 pages of knowledge. That's dozens of books, new ideas and new perspectives, knowledge that can change how you think, how you act, and how you live. A small action like making your bed every morning may seem trivial, but it teaches discipline. It sets the tone for your day. It says to yourself and to the world, I am in control of my life, starting with this one choice. That one simple habit becomes a foundation upon which bigger habits, bigger achievements, and bigger confidence can grow. And here's something even more powerful: small actions are contagious. When you take control of one area of your life, it influences other areas. When you decide to exercise for 15 minutes a day, suddenly your energy levels rise, your focus sharpens, and you start making better, decisions about what you eat, what you watch, and how you spend your time. When you make a habit of expressing gratitude, you notice more things to be grateful for. Small actions do not stay small, they ripple outward, affecting everything around them, shaping your relationships, your career, and your mindset. The secret is simple. You cannot change your life in one day, but you can change the direction of your life in one day. Each small action is a vote for the person you want to become. Every choice you make either strengthens your habits or weakens them. Every decision is either building momentum or creating friction. And when you understand that, when you truly embrace that, you begin to see the incredible power that resides in your daily actions. So the question isn't whether small actions matter. They matter more than you realize. The question is whether you will choose them, whether you will commit to them, and whether you will show up for yourself every single day. Because the truth is, nobody is coming to control your habits for you. Nobody is coming to shape your character, your discipline, or your future. That responsibility belongs to you. And when you start taking it seriously, when you start planting those seeds of action each day, you'll be amazed at how much your life begins to grow. I want you to think about the people you admire most in life. The leaders, the visionaries, the ones who seem to have everything together, the ones who at first glance appear almost untouchable. Now here's something you might not see at a glance. None of them became great because the world handed them success. None of them became powerful simply because opportunity knocked. The truth is far simpler and far more profound. They became great because they first mastered themselves. Before they commanded teams, before they built empires, before they made decisions that changed industries, they learned to command the one thing they could always control: themselves. They learned to control their thoughts, their emotions, their daily choices. They learned to show up even when they didn't feel like it, to act with discipline when the easy path called, and to persist when the world seemed indifferent. External success always follows internal mastery. You cannot lead others, inspire others, or leave a mark on the world if you are not first willing to lead yourself. Think about it for a moment. What does it mean to master yourself? It doesn't mean you never make mistakes. It doesn't mean you are perfect. It means that you understand your weaknesses. You acknowledge your distractions, and you build habits, routines, and systems that keep you moving forward despite them. It means choosing to do what's right, even when no one is watching. It means refusing to be ruled by impulses or short-term desires, and instead allowing your long-term vision to guide your actions. That is what separates ordinary people from extraordinary people. That is what separates those who wait for life to happen from those who make life happen. I've noticed a pattern in every great leader's life. They focused on what they could control first. They didn't wait for conditions to be perfect. They didn't wait for the economy to improve, for the timing to be right, or for someone else to validate their worth. They took responsibility for themselves. They cultivated their mind, disciplined their body, and strengthened their character. And the results? They followed naturally. Mastery over self creates a ripple that flows into every aspect of life. It creates clarity, confidence, and momentum. It creates the foundation upon which wealth, recognition, and influence can stand. Here's an example you might relate to. Every day you make countless small choices. What to say, what to think, how to respond. When these small choices are left unexamined, they compound into habits that control you. You might find yourself reacting impulsively, procrastinating, or giving away your energy to distractions. But when you begin to take control, even in small ways, you are training yourself to be the master of your own mind. You are building the kind of discipline that allows you to face bigger challenges, bigger opportunities, and bigger responsibilities with calm and confidence. I want to make something very clear. Self-mastery is not about restriction. It is not about denying yourself every pleasure or living a life of austerity. On the contrary, self-mastery is about freedom. Freedom from chaos, freedom from fear, freedom from habits that do not serve you. It's about creating the mental and emotional space to think clearly, act intentionally, and navigate life's challenges with poise. A person who has mastered themselves is not a prisoner of circumstance. They are the captain of their own ship, steering through storms and calm seas alike with the same sense of purpose. Many people chase external success first, hoping that money, title, or recognition will magically create the self-discipline they lack. But it never works that way. You can have a corner office and a fat paycheck and still feel restless, overwhelmed, or unfulfilled if you haven't first mastered the self that earns it. Great leaders understand this truth intuitively. They know that the world will test them relentlessly, and only those who are anchored in self-control, self-awareness, and self-discipline will stand tall when the tests come. Mastery over self also creates a kind of resilience that is invisible but indispensable. When you face setbacks, and you will face them, you won't crumble. When criticism comes, and it will, you won't be shaken. When obstacles rise in your path, and they inevitably will, you will respond with calm, deliberate action rather than panic. This resilience doesn't come from chance, it comes from the daily practice of mastering yourself. Each choice to pause instead of react. Each moment you decide to stick to your plan instead of giving in to distraction builds a muscle. And that muscle becomes the armor and the engine for every success that follows. The remarkable thing about self-mastery is that it doesn't require extraordinary talent. You don't need to be smarter than everyone else, faster than everyone else, or luckier than everyone else. What you need is awareness and consistency. Awareness to notice where you are giving away your power, and consistency to make small, intentional adjustments every day. That's it. You become the person who can make wise decisions under pressure, who can stick to principles when temptation calls, and who can lead with integrity even when it's inconvenient. And when you do that, external success is not just possible, it becomes inevitable. So when you look at your own life, ask yourself this question: are you letting your habits and impulses control you, or are you learning to control them? Are you mastering the self that ultimately decides your future, or are you waiting for some external force to grant you mastery and success? The path to greatness begins internally. It begins in the quiet, often unnoticed moments where you choose discipline over comfort, clarity over distraction, and long-term vision over short-term desire. Every great leader in history walked that path, and every person who achieves lasting fulfillment will walk it too. I want you to think about a bank account. Not just any bank account, but the kind of account that grows quietly, steadily, without drama, compounding its value over time. Now imagine if every choice you made, every action you took was like a deposit into that account. Some deposits are small, almost insignificant. Others are larger. But the secret, the real magic, comes from the power of compounding. That's right, compounding. The small deposits you make today, repeated consistently, grow into something far greater than what you could imagine in the beginning. And this is exactly how habits work in your life. You see, habits are not just repetitive actions. They are the invisible forces shaping the trajectory of your future. The book you read each morning, the words of encouragement you offer to others, the few extra minutes you spend planning your day, the decision to say no to something that doesn't serve you, all of these are like tiny deposits into the bank of your life. At first, you may not see the impact. It may feel like nothing is changing. You may wonder, does this even matter? But that's the beauty of compounding. You don't need to see the change immediately. What matters is consistency, because small actions over time produce extraordinary results. Think about it for a moment. A person who reads just 10 pages a day doesn't become a scholar overnight. But 10 pages a day, every day, turns into thousands of pages a year. Those pages become knowledge, wisdom, and insight that others might never acquire. That's the power of compounding. It's silent, slow, and often unnoticed, but relentless. And the same is true for your daily habits. If you cultivate good habits, habits of discipline, focus, integrity, and learning, over months and years, the results will multiply in ways that feel almost magical. Now consider the opposite. Bad habits work the same way, but in reverse. A small act of procrastination today, a negative thought entertained once, a careless choice made repeatedly, they are like withdrawals from your account. And over time, they compound too. The same way small deposits accumulate into wealth, small missteps accumulate into setbacks. That's why it's so critical to pay attention to your daily habits, because what feels minor now can become monumental later. The person who ignores the small things will eventually face the consequences just as surely as the person who nurtures the small things will eventually enjoy the rewards. Here's something to grasp. The results of your habits are not immediate, and they are rarely dramatic in the short term. That's why many people give up before the magic happens. They expect instant success, instant transformation, instant recognition. But life doesn't work like that. The miracle of compounding is quiet. It requires patience, persistence, and a refusal to be discouraged by the lack of immediate results. The person who perseveres, the one who consistently deposits into their habit account, will see the exponential growth of their efforts. Over time, the seemingly small habits will define the person you become and the life you live. Let me give you a simple example you can relate to. Imagine you decide to improve your health by walking 15 minutes each day. 15 minutes doesn't feel like much. It's easy to skip. It's easy to think, I'll start tomorrow. But 15 minutes repeated daily adds up. In 1 month, that's 7.5 hours of walking. In 1 year, it's over 90 hours. And over 5 years, it's nearly 500 hours of deliberate movement. That small daily habit grows silently, shaping your energy, your focus, your health, and even your confidence. It's compounding in action. The same principle applies to learning, to relationships, to your career, to your mindset. Small, consistent choices build momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. Another critical point about compounding habits is that they create leverage. One well-chosen habit influences multiple areas of life. Reading daily improves your thinking, your vocabulary, your confidence, and your problem solving. Being punctual improves your reliability, your reputation, and your self-respect. Practicing gratitude strengthens your relationships, your resilience, and your outlook on life. Each positive habit compounds not only in its own domain, but in every other domain it touches. And that's how ordinary actions, when compounded, create extraordinary lives. The power of habits as compound interest also teaches an essential lesson. Time is your greatest ally or your greatest enemy. The earlier you start, the more your efforts grow. The later you wait, the harder it becomes to catch up. Time magnifies both your good habits and your bad ones. That's why leaders and high achievers emphasize starting now, not tomorrow. The small step you take today is the seed of something far greater tomorrow. And the small steps you fail to take are the seeds of opportunity lost. What's important to remember is that compounding requires discipline. You must show up, even when motivation wanes, even when progress seems invisible. That's the test. That's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. The world rewards persistence over intensity, small daily actions over occasional bursts of effort, success, wealth, influence, and fulfillment do not come from sudden miracles. They come from repeated, intentional choices that accumulate like interest in a well-managed account. And so, as you think about your own habits, I want you to picture them as deposits. Each time you choose to read, to exercise, to reflect, to act with integrity, you are investing in yourself. Each time you choose distraction, indulgence, or procrastination, you are withdrawing. Over months and years, these deposits and withdrawals will compound, shaping your future in ways that are unstoppable, irreversible, and undeniable. That's the incredible, almost mystical power of habits as compound interest. I want you to pause for a moment and reflect on this. How many times have you gone through a day on autopilot, barely noticing the choices you made, the words you spoke, or the actions you took? How often do you react to life rather than intentionally create it? Most people live their lives this way, habitually, unconsciously, allowing their circumstances and impulses to steer them. And yet the truth is, freedom, growth, and success don't come from drifting through life, They come from awareness. They come from the simple, powerful act of noticing your habits, your patterns, and your choices, and then taking control of them. Awareness is the first step in taking charge of your life. You cannot control what you do not see. You cannot change a habit you are blind to. That's why great leaders, great thinkers, and the most successful people in history spend time observing themselves. They reflect on their actions. They analyze their decisions. And they ask themselves, is this moving me forward or holding me back? Does this serve my long-term vision? Or is it just satisfying a short-term urge? The moment you start asking these questions, you shift from being a passive participant in life to an active creator of it. Awareness gives you the power to see your life as it is, not as habit, comfort, or impulse has shaped it. And once you have awareness, comes choice. Choice is the power that separates those who succeed from those who drift. Every habit, every action, every reaction offers a choice. You can continue on autopilot, allowing your habits to dictate your path, or you can pause, assess, and choose intentionally. The person who masters this principle understands that their life is not the result of circumstance, luck, or the opinions of others. It is the result of choices made day in and day out, moment by moment. And the more conscious your choices, the more control you have over your destiny. Consider the everyday decisions that seem trivial, how you respond when someone cuts you off in traffic, whether you spend an extra 5 minutes learning something new, whether you reach out to encourage a colleague or remain silent. To most people, these actions are insignificant, but in truth, they accumulate. They either strengthen your character or weaken it. They either build your habits or erode them. And the more aware you are of these moments, the more opportunities you have to steer your life intentionally. Awareness allows you to see the ripple effects of small actions long before they manifest. It's the difference between planting seeds consciously and scattering them randomly. Choice, when combined with awareness, creates responsibility. It places the power in your hands to shape the person you become and the life you live. You cannot blame circumstances, luck, or anyone else when you understand that your habits are a series of choices you made or neglected to make. And here's the liberating part. Once you recognize this, you realize that change is possible. You are not a victim of your past actions. You are not condemned by the habits you've developed over years. You can choose differently starting today. Every moment becomes a chance to pause, assess, and act intentionally. Every day becomes an opportunity to align your actions with your vision for the future. Let me give you an example. Think about a habit of spending excessive time on distractions, scrolling social media, binge-watching shows, or engaging in gossip. Left unchecked, these habits drain your energy, your focus, and your time. But awareness changes everything. When you notice, I'm spending 2 hours on something that doesn't serve me, you gain the power to choose differently. You can replace it with reading, reflection, or meaningful interaction. That single act of choice, multiplied over days and months, transforms your habits and eventually your life. Awareness doesn't just illuminate the problem, it unlocks the solution. And awareness isn't just about noticing the negative, it's also about recognizing and reinforcing what's working. How often do we overlook our progress, our strengths, our wins, and the small victories that accumulate over time? Great leaders cultivate awareness in both directions. They notice when they fall short so they can correct course. And they notice when they act well so they can reinforce and repeat it. This balance of self-reflection and reinforcement creates momentum. It transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones simply because they notice, choose, and act intentionally. Here's something many people fail to grasp. The world does not require perfection, but it does demand presence. You do not have to control every aspect of your life immediately. You do not have to fix all your habits overnight. What you must do is become aware enough to see the path and disciplined enough to make conscious choices each day. Awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. You suddenly see where you are, what obstacles exist, and where the opportunities lie. And once the light is on, choice is inevitable. You cannot unknowingly continue in darkness when you see clearly. Awareness and choice also teach patience and foresight. Once you understand that every action carries a ripple effect, you begin to think beyond the immediate moment. You start asking, will this decision bring me closer to the person I want to become? That question alone transforms your day because it shifts your focus from short-term gratification to long-term growth. Awareness allows you to pause before reacting. Choice allows you to act with intention. Together, they create a powerful engine for personal transformation. And here's the final insight I want you to grasp in this moment. Every habit, every routine, every pattern in your life is a result of choices made consciously or unconsciously. Awareness gives you clarity. Choice gives you power. The combination gives you freedom. The freedom to redirect your life, to invest in what matters, and to take control of your future. Without awareness, habits control you. With awareness, habits serve you. And once you choose intentionally, nothing, not fear, not doubt, not circumstance, can steer you away from the life you are capable of creating. I want you to think about the people who have left a mark on history, not just for what they accomplished, but for who they were in the process. The leaders who changed the world, inspired millions, and built legacies didn't achieve greatness by chance. They were ordinary people who did extraordinary things, not because they had resources or luck, but because they cultivated habits, discipline, and self-mastery that guided every choice they made. And the remarkable thing is, their stories are full of lessons that we can all apply today in our own lives. Take, for example, a leader who faced immense challenges and adversity, someone whose life could have gone in any direction. What made the difference wasn't a single brilliant idea or a stroke of luck. It was persistence. It was the daily commitment to act in alignment with purpose. Every morning they showed up and made small, deliberate choices to learn, to improve, to lead with integrity. They didn't wait for inspiration. They created it through disciplined action. And over time, these small, consistent choices became habits. Habits that shaped their character, strengthened their resolve, and ultimately defined their legacy. What's inspiring about these examples is not that these leaders were perfect. They weren't. They faced failures, setbacks, criticism, and doubt just like anyone else. What set them apart was that they learned to see these obstacles not as the end of the road, but as a test of their habits, a challenge to their discipline, and an opportunity to grow. When others quit, they persisted. When others reacted impulsively, they chose intentionally. When others let fear control them, they controlled their fear. And through this consistent practice, they became leaders not only in title, but in influence, wisdom, and character. We often think that leadership is about grand gestures, public recognition, or bold decisions in dramatic moments. But in truth, leadership is cultivated quietly in the small, often unseen moments. It is in the way someone chooses to respond when no one is watching, in the way they treat people who cannot help them, in the consistency of their habits, and in their ability to master themselves first. The leaders who inspire us the most are those who understood that external success is the result of internal discipline. They knew that the small, everyday actions, when repeated faithfully, compound into results that can change not only their lives, but the lives of everyone around them. Consider the ripple effect of leadership by example. One person who commits to self-mastery and disciplined habits influences others in ways that are invisible at first, but undeniable over time. A manager who consistently shows integrity and fairness inspires their team to do the same. A parent who reads, reflects, and invests in personal growth encourages their children to value learning and discipline. A friend who practices kindness and patience creates a ripple of positivity that spreads through their social circle. Leadership, in its truest form, is contagious because habits, discipline, and character cannot be contained. They radiate outward and shape the environment around them. And what is particularly inspiring is that these leaders didn't start with extraordinary circumstances. Many began in humble conditions, faced setbacks, or lacked formal resources. What they had was the determination to control themselves, to invest in their habits, and to take responsibility for their own growth. They treated life as a laboratory, experimenting with their choices, learning from mistakes, and steadily building the person they needed to become in order to achieve the life they envisioned. Their greatness was not in luck or talent alone. It was in the deliberate practice of habits that created momentum over time. This is a lesson that applies to all of us. Inspiration isn't about copying someone else's path. It's about observing how they achieved mastery and applying those principles in our own lives. Every habit they cultivated, every choice they made, every moment they committed to growth is a blueprint for what is possible when we take control of our own actions. And the beauty of it is that these examples are not unreachable ideals. They are evidence that ordinary people, through awareness, discipline, and consistent effort, can achieve extraordinary results. Think about your own life. Imagine if you adopted even a fraction of the habits practiced by those who inspire the world. Imagine the ripple effects if you chose daily discipline, reflection, and intentional action over distraction, procrastination, or reaction. Leadership doesn't require waiting for a title, a position, or recognition. Leadership begins with mastery of yourself. When you act with integrity, pursue growth relentlessly, and influence those around you positively, you are already leading. You are already creating impact, and perhaps the most encouraging part is that this is available to everyone. You do not need permission. You do not need extraordinary luck. You do not need extraordinary talent. What you need is awareness, choice, and the willingness to take small, consistent actions that shape your habits. That is what leaders do. That is what inspires. And that is what transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary legacies